Hello! We were studying last time Tales of the Supernatural, and I believe the story we were studying last was the Yew Trees. So I thought I would just make this short video to remind you of me and remind you of what we read. I think the last time we did it was in February, so long time ago. Okay, so the Yew Trees, page 29. "It's got to go," said Zoe. "One is fine, but two is just too much." "I don't know, dear," said her husband, Rupert Blake, as he looked at the two great yew trees. "I kind of like them as they are. They look beautiful together, almost like a married couple, don't you think?" "Oh, come on, be serious, Rupert," said Zoe, rather angrily. "We are talking about a couple of trees, not people. I only want to cut one down, not both of them. They take away all the sunshine, and they block the view from the windows. We can't see anything when we look out." She was right, of course. The trees did block the view. They were known to be at least 3,000 years old, if not more. But they did block the view. Rupert and Zoe Blake had bought the old church on the hill because of the beautiful view of the town. Now they couldn't enjoy it. No, one of the yew trees had to go. Rupert and Zoe were well known on British television. They had a program called Home Makeover, which was all about finding old homes and giving them a makeover. That meant they changed everything about the house to make it look different. Old houses were given a new look, and new houses were given an old look. It was up to Rupert and Zoe to decide what the final look of a house was going to be. That's why the viewers enjoyed the program. Rupert liked old things, while Zoe liked anything that was new and different and which made people talk. The program often showed them arguing about what they wanted. Zoe usually got her way. Zoe was a small woman in her late 50s. She was very pretty, but had a loud voice, and she wasn't afraid of telling people what to do. Rupert, who was a little older, was tall and polite. But even he shouted at Zoe sometimes. The viewers loved to see them argue. They made a great team, and millions of people watched them every week. Rupert and Zoe's latest idea was their most interesting yet. They wanted a new home with lots of room. What better than an old church? Rupert liked old places, while Zoe liked the idea of changing the place completely. The television cameras would watch them as they changed the old church into their new home. The viewers would just love it. Rupert and Zoe had found just what they wanted in Tislington, a small town just outside Norwich. It was a large disused church called St. Stephen's, which they had bought at a cheap price. It was over 300 years old, but was built over another church that was much older. Around St. Stephen's there were lots of very old graves. Some of them belonged to people who had died over 1,000 years ago. Right in the middle of the graveyard were two great yew trees, one male, one female, and people had always known them as Adam and Eve. Rupert liked the two trees, but he knew that Zoe was right about them blocking the sunshine. Even so, the yew trees did look beautiful together. The two of them stood over the graveyard and were higher than the church. The branches of the trees met like the arms of two people over the graves of the long dead. Eve's dark green leaves had round, red berries, and two trees moved together softly when the wind blew. But which tree would go, Adam or Eve? "Don't worry, darling," said Zoe. "I've met a man coming over this morning to look at those yew trees. He's a gardener from Tislington itself. His name is Mr. Ross." "Where did you find him?" asked Rupert from behind the newspaper he was reading. "I didn't. He found me. He just arrived and said he'd heard about what we were doing and wanted to help. It seems that he's been working in the graveyard for years." Rupert put down his newspaper. He looked surprised. "Oh, really? How do you know he's okay? Have you asked anybody about him?" Zoe looked, just for a moment, as if she couldn't answer. Then she turned to her husband and found her voice again. "Now don't go worrying about such little things, Rupert Blake. He's only a gardener. All he has to do is chop down a tree. I think you can leave me to organize a little thing like that. Now take a look at these plans for the new kitchen while I make some coffee." The Blakes were staying in a small house close to the old church. Most of the work was finished by now, except the garden and the kitchen. The house was old, but comfortable, with a heavy wooden front door. Later that morning, there were 2 loud knocks on the door. The knocks were loud enough for the Blakes to hear them from the kitchen, where they were drinking their coffee. "Don't break the door down! I'm coming!" said Rupert, as he went to answer the door. Rupert was tall, nearly 2 meters. But when he opened the door, he saw a man several centimeters taller than him. The man was not young, and he had a long brown beard and thick eyebrows. The eyes themselves were a rich brown, and there were many lines in the skin around them. The eyes and the face were smiling. He wore a green woolen cap and a brown woolen suit. Rupert looked surprised, and the man laughed a deep laugh. "People often look surprised when they first see me," the man said, "but I can't say that I blame them." "And you are?" asked Rupert. "My name's Adam Ross. I spoke to your wife about the yew tree." "Ah, yes, we're expecting you, Mr. Ross. Do come in." Rupert, as he always did when meeting people, put out his hand. Ross shook it. Rupert felt how strong Ross's hand was. It was the hand, Rupert thought, of a man used to being outside and working with the earth. Zoe came into the room. She was happy that Ross had arrived to take care of the problem of the tree. "I can't tell you how pleased I am to see you, Mr. Ross," she said. "These yew trees are a real problem. May I offer you some tea or coffee?" "No, thank you, but a good drink of water will be fine, if you would be so kind." "Of course. It is rather hot today," said Zoe. Soon they were all sitting around the kitchen table. Ross drank his large glass of water quickly, and Zoe had to fill it several times while they spoke. Mr. Ross was a thirsty man. "My wife tells me you have worked in the graveyard for a long time, Mr. Ross," said Rupert. "For many years," answered Ross. "Nobody knows the place better than me. I know every tree, every flower, and every grave. Nobody knows them better, except perhaps my wife." "Your wife is a gardener too, Mr. Ross?" asked Zoe. "We work together when we can. said Ross. Zoe looked pleased. She liked to meet other women. She could tell them all about her ideas for changing things. Often she told the women how to change themselves, too. Such fun! Will we see Mrs. Ross, then? She is resting at the moment. She is very tired. But you might see her if I need help. Oh, said Zoe. I do hope so. Now, about these trees. I think the one on the right, the one they call Eve, should go. That's the one that's blocking the sunshine. We can keep the other one. Adam, said Rupert helpfully. Yes, Adam. Oh, I mean the tree, not you, Mr. Ross. It's your name too, isn't it? Adam? I am called Adam sometimes, said Ross. Rupert thought that was a strange thing to say. How many names did Ross have? But I can help you best, said Ross, by giving you some good advice. Oh, Mr. Ross, said Zoe, what might that be? Do not cut down that yew tree, said Ross loudly. Or the other one. Cut off branches if you must. That will give you enough light, but do not kill the tree. Really, Mr. Ross, said Rupert, standing up as he spoke. I think that decision is ours to make. I know how much you like the trees. I like them myself. But they belong to us, and we can do what we like with them. No one can stop us. When Rupert stood up to speak to people, it was a way of using his height to get people to agree with him. It usually worked. Not this time. The yews are older than you know, Ross said quietly as he looked deep into Rupert's eyes. It would be wrong to kill either of them. More than wrong. For a moment, Rupert and Zoe did not feel safe. They had not expected anybody to feel so strongly about the trees. They certainly did not expect a very large man telling them what to do about the trees in their own home. I'm sorry. I'm not used to speaking so much. I really must explain, he said. You see, the trees are really very special. And that is where we will finish the chapter so far. Great. I hope you like this. I hope it's a good idea for you. And I hope to see you either digitally or in person very soon. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.